I want to discuss with you today 5 reasons why marriage therapy isn't working today. I'm Blaine Millisbacher. I'm a marriage and family therapist, and I'm founder of Adore Your Spouse. When people hear me say that, they may think, well, there's not a problem. Maybe marriage therapy wasn't effective for me, or someone I know it wasn't effective for them. There's the problem, right? It wasn't effective for my wife and I either. Consumer Reports did a massive survey on mental health professionals and people's experience with it, and marriage and family therapists came in at the bottom of the barrel. Dr. Balcom, who's considered the foremost researcher in marital therapy, after studying any new approaches that come out during the year, at the end of the year and each year, he says there still is not an effective approach to marriage therapy. Only 35% of couples see a meaningful improvement in their marriages as a result of therapy. A year later, only 18% of those are still seeing the benefits. What's the problem? Why isn't marriage therapy working? Well, here's the 5 points. The first point is education. It's the education that we receive as therapists. Our training, our skill set that we learn, it's really subpar. It's kind of on a broken system. I hate to say that, but it's really true, and that's why the results are so poor. Out of all the classes we had to take in a 60-degree program, only 2 were required on marriage. Matter of fact, they didn't have any others on marriage. Almost all of my textbooks, I'd say 90% of them, didn't even talk about marriage. We're required to take classes where we have to role play the counseling situation, how to work with an individual, how to work with a group, and how to lead it, right? But we never were required to do that with a couple. In my internship, it was 700 clinical hours, tons of hours, right? But I was never required to work with even one couple. Now, I was able to work with couples because I made a point to do it. I actually had to advertise to get my own clients. So how many other therapists across the country and across the world are in their internships and never working with couples? The training can be so poor that when marriage therapists, when we come out, we really can feel vulnerable, like we don't know what we're doing. Point number 2, what's discussed? Now, what's generally discussed in therapy is communication, right? But what about roles and responsibility? What about addiction and abuse? What about, lots of other things. What about understanding your spouse? You can communicate till the cows come home, but what if you don't trust your spouse? It's not going to help. You have to fix the trust. So where communication is really important, it shouldn't trump all the other things that are very important in a marriage. Number 3, the lack of a detailed plan. As marriage therapists, through our training, we learn to diagnose and then to create a treatment plan. Now, the treatment plan that probably every marriage therapist across the country is doing is reduce marital discord. Well, of course, that's why they're there, right? They want to stop fighting. But how are they going to do it? That's really not a plan. It's more like a goal, right? But what are the concrete actions the client's going to take? Really? They don't know. And so when they leave, they're no more empowered than when they showed up. Number 4, the structure of therapy. What I mean by this point is traditional therapy, you have the counselor and you have the couple, and they meet that way every week after week after week after week. Well, that could be effective, but it could be extremely ineffective. What if the husband has a major addiction? Well, you got to work with the husband, right? Or what if the wife is breaking a principle or has a problem? Well, you've got to address that. And if you don't and help them get healthier, it's not going to fix the marriage. And so it's got to be, at times, it's got to be separated. Point number 5, they focus on problems rather than solutions. When I was applying for a marriage and family therapy degree, I ran into an old high school friend at the graduate department. And I said, hey, I want my marriage and family therapy degree. And he says, I have one. I said, well, why in the world aren't you practicing? He says, because I can't stand working with the couples. They fight all the time. I was like, holy cow. When I was in my degree program, I interviewed another therapist. I asked him a lot of questions, but one was, what do you dislike most about your job? He says, working with clients because they fight all the time. So how are they going to help the couples have a happy marriage if they spend all the time fighting and arguing? They're focused on the problems. They're not focused on solutions. And if you don't do that, obviously, it's going to be very ineffective. Traditional marriage therapy obviously isn't working. But something has to work, right? If something didn't work, then how come some people have happy marriages? So I knew there had to be laws, there had to be something that would make marriages happier, and I had to figure out what those were. And through my studies, I've discovered 5 points that make marriage therapy effective. Point number 1, principles. Principles are foundational. If you want to have better finances, if you save 10%, if you didn't get in debt, your finances would get better. If you wanted better health, if you ate a really healthy diet, if you exercised regularly, your health would improve.
It's the exact same thing with your marriage.
After 15 years of study, and I mean a ton of study, I've discovered 12 principles that make marriages happier. When people live these principles, their marriage gets happier, period.
Point number 2, education. The reason people come into marriage therapy is because they don't know how to have a happy marriage and they want one. Well, what I've done is I've created an online course that teaches people how to have happy marriages.
This online course teaches them the 12 principles of happy marriages, so when they show up in our sessions, we can actually apply what they're learning and help them have a happier marriage.
This leads me to point number 3.
Focusing on the results or the solutions rather than the problems. See, when my clients are in the online course, when we get together in session, we have material to talk about, right? And how to apply it to their lives and to their marriage rather than arguing all the time. It's extremely effective.
Point number 4, the plan. My clients need a customized plan. They need details, concrete actions they can take so that they can get the results they want. Now, how I do this, how I help them achieve this, is I've created a detailed assessment.
So that we can create this custom plan based on what's really going on, based on how they're living or not living the 12 principles.
Point number 5 is the structure.
Because I'm so focused on results and I want my clients so badly to have a happy marriage, I'll be flexible in the structure. We're kind of fluid. I may just meet with the wife or the husband or both. And I might mix that up and it might go different periods of time because we want them to have a happy marriage. That's the goal, right? So whatever we have to do. And obviously the reason we do this is because the wife might be struggling with something. And when we can help her get healthy there, then the whole marriage gets healthier.
If you or someone you know is struggling in their marriage and what I have said resonates with you, then go to adoreYourSpouse.com and contact me so I can start helping you have the happy marriage you want. Thanks for watching.